A sincere expression of gratitude to our esteemed patrons for their generous monthly contributions.
Cousin Mark and Ashling.
Karen and Kate.
Stephanie and Courtney.
Lynn and Margie. Sarah.
You too can become a valued patron and unlock a realm of exclusive content by supporting our mission for as little as $3 a month. Your contributions sustain our commitment to delivering high-quality content. Visit wickedwanderingspodcast.com and click on the support tab to join the ranks of our dedicated patrons. Thank you for considering this opportunity to deepen your engagement with Wicked Wanderings. Your support is paramount in enabling us to continue our journey into the realms of mystery and true crime.
What in the hell did I do to these?
What the hell? Stay with Auntie. You'll be more comfortable, honest.
Okay. Oh, sorry guys. This is ADHD at work. All right, Rob. This is
Okay.
what happens when your wife asks me about a case that lives in my head, and then I went down a spiral. So I don't know what we're gonna do with this one, but
Mind you, we had at least a 20-30 minute conversation before this. Okay. Hi, I'm Hannah.
and I'm Courtney.
Join us as we delve into true crime, paranormal encounters, and all things spooky.
Grab your flashlight and get ready to wander into the darkness with us.
This is Wicked Wanderings.
So, I don't know if we're ever going to post this Wanderers. This is probably just me rambling for myself, but Hannah and I were sitting in our living room, and you guys all know how the missing case of Lynn Burdick gets under my skin. I came across an article that somebody had posted just about a month ago and read the whole article, cover to cover, texted my mom, but I just keep going down the rabbit hole of where did she go? The first thing I'm seeing is details are very, sporadic. Like, some places are saying this is the amount of money that was missing, and and it seems so insignificant, but even some places are saying her cousin called, or it was her brother who called. The timeline is really the only super consistent part.
And they also thought that Louis Lent has something to do with this, but I'm thinking based off what we know, I don't think it was him.
I don't think so either. So I'm using the Charlie Project right now. That's another resource that I'm kind of reading for the first time. Something that really gives me the chills is when they...
And did we talk about who this person is first?
Yes. I mean, I know historically I bring it up every third episode.
Okay. All right.
Me and Lynn Burdick, I feel like we should be friends. I read about her family and I just feel for them. I mean, we were talking earlier, and there was that prosecutor who wrote a book, and when they asked him, why didn't you link him to her?
Had no idea.
He was like, who? I didn't even know, because back then, I mean, that just wasn't... Anyways, I agree with the authorities and all of the accounts I've read so far. She didn't run away. She was not the running away kind. It doesn't match any of her descriptions. I'm really unsettled by the guy who tried to abduct somebody 8 miles away and around the same exact time. That really bothers me. They did do updated sketches, everybody, and Hannah, because I don't know what we're going to do with this, so I'm just going to podcast it as if we are.
Yep.
Passion project. They put this one in the vault of passion projects. But I just feel like the updated sketches you wouldn't just update a sketch for no reason, right? You know what I'm saying? You're talking 2022 from the 80s. Why would they just have recently with no lead been when would be a great time to update these sketches right the fuck now? So they did update the sketches. I'm also reading, and again, I don't fact checking. I don't know. I'm just doing a rough, I find something. There's the village.
Sorry, everybody. Christmas Village is going off.
When I find something new, I'm just copying and pasting it to another note app. But it says in 1995, Burdick's father received an anonymous letter postmarked from Boston from a man stating that his daughter had been abducted and murdered by a man in North Adams. Authorities are familiar with the suspect named in the letter and pleaded for the letter author to come forward with more information.
That's it?
North Adams is near Florida, and it is believed that Burdick's case could have been connected to the mentioned suspect, who was interviewed extensively by police. But there is no evidence to support this theory. The writer remains unidentified, and authorities do not know if the note was a hoax or if it was legitimate. And then it just goes into who she was, which is also important, so I'll read it, but it just drops right off of that. She was a senior. She went to McCann Vocational Technical High School in 1982. She was about to go through all of that spring prom, graduation stuff. She wanted to be a cartoonist. She was going to graduate with high honors, and she was known as very studious, well-behaved. She took care of her chronically ill mother. She volunteered with several charities that assisted people with disabilities. She was a caretaker. She was the youngest of 4, and she caretook for all of her siblings' kids. She wanted to go to college, but money was a factor, and she had planned to stay home after graduation to help take care of her mom, to hopefully save up enough money to go to college. She did not have a driver's license. She did not have a car, and she was not dating anyone at the time of her murder or disappearance, presumed murder.
It just seems like the perfect crime.
It's like Maura Murray all over again.
It's too perfect. And like you bring up Maura Murray, it just, I don't know, Maura Murray is like something that lives rent-free in my head.
Maura Murray is your Lynn Burdick.
It is.
Maura Murray.
She really is.
She is.
I don't know, just drove away to get away, and like all these things perfectly came together, and we have no idea what happened. Just like, I'm getting passionate, people. Like, what is going on? Like, what happened to these women? These women that had so much going for them, that were smart, that came from, you know, I mean, well, it sounds like Lynn Burdick came from a good family. Honestly, I'm not sure about Maura Murray. It sounds like there was, but you know, every family has their own shit. I mean, I feel like, yeah, because like, I mean, we all sat around here earlier, Court, and we were like, you know, family drama, like everyone has it. It just is inevitable. No one's family is perfect, and we know that. But especially as you get older, you get different personalities, and we get set in our ways. But I don't know, just like, and you said 100 yards. Like several yards from her house. How long?
She lives several hundred yards from this building, and
it just makes no sense.
The Barefoot Peddler is now taken down. It was owned by her cousin, is what some of the sources I'm finding were. And I mean, I see where some people would go and they would say, okay, she was strapped for cash, right? She was trying to save for college. She was somebody who, even if she could have gone to college, she was planning on taking care of her mom. Okay, so even if she had the money, would she have gone? I don't know. I don't know her. I feel like I get a vibe off of the whole situation where it's like, why would she didn't strike me as the kind of person who would have stole money. If she did, she didn't take any of the cash that was stowed away for like emergencies underneath, which she was very well aware of.
Because she worked there for several months, you said?
Yeah, so she had to be 18 to work there because they sold alcohol.
So like, why would she wait several months after? Like, if you were planning on stealing.
Right. And it's from her own cousin.
Right.
Why would you steal? I don't think she would have stolen from anybody, let alone her own family. I really don't. I'm trying to find more about that letter that her dad received, because to me, I've never heard about that.
So was it supposed to be like a ransom note?
It was just, so this is a different source talking about the same letter. 1995, father received an anonymous letter postmarked from Boston. So, well, that's all the same. It was written by a man alleging that Burdick's daughter, Lynn, had been abducted and murdered by an individual who lived in North Adams, Mass. Which Florida and North Adams are synonymous. Florida is part of, essentially, it's not part of North Adams, but that's how we all look at it.
I feel like unless you're from Western Mass, you think Florida, you only think of the state of Florida.
Right. And it's, I mean, they, at one point in one of the sources were talking about Monroe, which is right next to Florida, Mass, and it only has 100 people. 100 people. This is like the kind of population we're talking about.
Yeah.
So it would be hard to say, like, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I don't feel like the person knew her because the crime doesn't line up. So
it doesn't.
She worked a shift from 4 to 9. So if you knew her, wouldn't you, in my mind, I mean, I've never abducted somebody, I don't plan to, but I don't think I would go at like 8:30 to try to abduct someone who you know might have been getting a ride, who might have had somebody coming in.
Right, why that close to shutting down?
I would have gone closer to 5, closer to 6.
So was it more like a convenience store type thing?
It was a convenience store where you could get your alcohol, you could get, you know, like cigarettes, things from a convenience.
So you had mentioned earlier to me when we were on the couch talking about this was a car that was stolen from Braintree.
Yeah.
But then you also mentioned a letter that was postmarked from Boston.
Yeah, those things. And then they're saying that backing it up, a car was stolen from Braintree on the 3rd day that Lynn was missing. They found it completely burnt up in Vermont, you know, very far from Braintree, Massachusetts, which is out near Boston. And it matched the description for the car that had abducted the girl from Williams College or tried to abduct her, except for the fact that the woman who was, frantic, who had just been attempted to be taken, said bucket seats. So everything from the color to the shape of the taillights to the interior of the car matched, except the seat style. And for some reason, I feel like that was a huge red flag that they just chucked this car out.
Yeah.
It was found around the same time. I mean, think about it. The perfect crime. You kidnap somebody. You try to, right? They get away from you. You're like, oh, shit. You go kidnap somebody else. Now your car has been seen erratically driving because there was a complaint between the two instances of somebody flying up this road towards Florida from Williamstown. You burn it, right? You stole it. You committed the crime. Now you've got to get rid of it. All those fibers, all that stuff.
But just because she said bucket and this car didn't have bucket, we're going to throw, this can't be the car.
They were just it can't be. It's too much.
It's
too much pressure on a woman who was just almost abducted.
Yes.
It's too much pressure. And it's, to me, if you've got, we're in data and behavior. If 5 things match up and one's not right, I'm going to keep looking. I'm not going to just be like, abort mission. Okay, that's not right.
Because if they said, oh, no, it was a pickup truck with bucket seats and it was blue, and you found a red car with non-bucket seats,
you'd be like, okay, that doesn't match up. A seat style seems really...
Yeah. Because I think about the Bundy case and how everyone's like, oh, well, he didn't have his front passenger seat. Right?
Take him out.
You could take him out and then he puts one back in. So if they find a bug... right, with the seat in there, oh, it can't be the car because there's a seat in it. Bullshit, because you can change that so specifically. It doesn't make any sense.
I feel like some people get way too pigeonholed. Which is annoying. Oh, there's another podcast that actually did an episode on Lynn Burdick.
Oh, really? What was the name of the podcast?
Creme de la Crime.
Oh, okay.
I've never heard of it, but I'm going to listen to it definitely.
Court, going back to like what we do for a living as behavior analysts, I think about, the kids that we work with, and you have a child that's learning a new skill, right? And they're learning, they do well, and they have that one off day, right? Yeah. They're sick and we may not know it, or they had a bad night's sleep, or they didn't get the breakfast they want.
Something in the room is bothering them.
They don't know the skill at all. No, okay, they had a bad day. And I know that's kind of maybe far off from what we're talking about, but like
0 and 100.
Yes, there's something to be said in the middle.
Yeah.
Right? we can't, oh, no, this data's wrong. Like, okay, no, we can't just throw out data that we have.
No. And I feel like...
Is that too far off? I'm trying to find a connection here.
It's not, because I feel like if I was investigating something, I'm one of those people who would be like a big time crime nerd. Like what do you see in the TV shows, and it's ridiculous, and they have a whole room with every article and everything. Yeah. That's how
the pictures,
my brain drives that way. But I feel like it's so easy to overlook a detail. It's so easy to, we're not talking about a big town. We're talking about a small town with a part-time police chief. Okay. Not a part-time police officer, not a volunteer fire department. We're talking about a part-time police chief. Okay. Everybody's connected in those areas. It becomes a really big whodunit.
Yep.
And I think what's interesting is when I'm reading all of this, nobody looked at anybody local. They seem to be from, and I've done limited research at this point. I would say I'm very early in like the actual, like, hey, I'm going to get in here and dig into this. They were very like, it was this outsider, which matches the mentality of that area. It was this outsider. It was this person who came in here who tried to abduct that one girl. I mean, I'll give them that. The girl he tried to abduct was at the Williams College. She was a freshman, so she was 18, 19 at the most. And Lynn was 18. So I will say that I can see why the comparison was drawn. The timelines, the ages, but that can't be the only suspect. You can't, my brain is going so fast. And even the letter that he got in 1995, it keeps saying, the police were familiar with the named suspect. The police were familiar. Who is this person and why are we not saying their name?
And so I'm going to bring around the fact that, like, was there a limitation, right? If we think about, like, research articles, we talk about the limitations at the end of the article, right? So you go through, like, your research methods and the data that you have. But you go to limitations, right? What is the limitations of this certain article, basically?
Yeah.
So I think about the limitations with this part-time police chief. Is it because it's such a small town? He knows well, it's not possible it could be the uncle.
Right.
Not possible it could be the best friend. I feel like that's a limitation. You need to have an outside source who has no connections to anyone. So, like, yes, a small town, great. We only have so many people to go through. But if you're connected to all those people,
it's harder. There's a bias. Yeah. There's a bias that even if you're aware of it, it's there. And what strikes me too is, like, at the same time that they were thinking, and I do, if you ask me in my heart, what do I think happened to Lynn? I don't think she ran away. She was a girl who cared a whole lot about her family.
Yeah.
She was a girl who was going to graduate with high honors, and she was aspiring to go to college, and she didn't have a boyfriend, and there was nobody who wished to harm her. I don't think that person would have run away on their own accord unless there was a lot more that we just don't know. And I'll always say that's a possibility. But in my heart, I feel like it was a wrong place, wrong time. I think somebody did something and it was a quick decision, or maybe they just had her in their sights. I really hope it wasn't that. And something bad happened. And I don't think she's still out there. I wish she was. But I feel like they were like, okay, she wouldn't have run away. She was obviously kidnapped. And then they were just like, let's search the woods.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, well, did we look for fingerprints? Like, I know it's a convenience store, but did you know the soda was hers? Did you just presume the soda was hers? Like, I just feel like a lot of the evidence, and I know we're not privy to that because it's an open case,
right?
But there's nobody talking. It literally looks like in the research, they noticed she was missing. The part-time police chief was called by whoever it was, mixed signals on who it was who actually discovered. Some sources say it was a patron of the convenience store went in and they were like, where the fuck's my service? You know what I mean? Like, why does it look like nobody's in here? And called. And then in some sources, it was her brother had gone down to check on her and she wasn't there. Regardless, I feel like it was like the police chief came. He was like, okay.
Looks odd, but
Looks
whatever.
weird. Let's call in some extras. And then they were searching. And it's like, in my mind, why did you go right to searching the woods, right? You didn't think she ran away. It tells me you were looking for a body. But why would you immediately go to, this just happened, let's look for a body?
Yeah.
With no signs of foul play, truly.
Right,
I mean, if there's blood on the floor or there's a sign of a struggle, I'm like, okay, let's look.
Right.
But if it looks like she just
walked
was
out,
persuaded, right? Heavily persuaded, maybe with a weapon, maybe with some kind of blackmail, or maybe she was taken and they just fixed the room. That could have happened too. There's a lot of pieces to it that I'm like, I just don't see why that wasn't looked into.
Yeah, I agree.
I really do want to read the book. I forget who the guy is now. I'll have to look that back up. But there was an old prosecutor who had written a book about some killings and things that had happened in the area too.
So you're willing to read that book even though it has some Lynn Burdick in it?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Attention, cryptid enthusiasts and Bigfoot believers. Unleash your inner legend with our brand new Bigfoot t-shirt, now available just $19.95 plus shipping. This tee is everything you've ever wanted. Soft, lightweight, and designed with the perfect amount of stretch for maximum comfort. Made from 100% combed and ring-spun cotton, it's pre-shrunk to keep its flattering fit and durable enough to withstand your wildest adventures. With its high-quality construction and iconic design, this shirt is a must-have for anyone who's ready to join the hunt in style. Sizes are available for everyone, so don't wait to grab yours today. Head to the link in the show notes to snag your new favorite shirt and rep your Bigfoot pride wherever you go.
Yeah, because I'm thinking that if I want to make this case, I think I need to get information from places that didn't pull her in to look for those places where you could. Because somebody knows something.
Yeah.
Somebody knows something. Or somebody did. There's got to be something. People don't just vanish. I mean, I know like Maura Murray, and I know there are lots of cases where that happens, but there is always an answer. It's like what we do for work. Behavior just doesn't spontaneously happen. There's always a reason. It's always cause and effect. There has to be something, and I'll be damned. I'm going to find it because it bothers me. And this poor family deserves that. And
something I'm finding too, and I know this is in research articles as well, is that behavior isn't just one function. It's usually multifunction.
Of course.
You know, so was it just because, it's spontaneous, I'm going to do it? Or was it by greed? Was it by sexual desire? I mean, the fact that he took a girl, supposedly, right? We're thinking here, took a girl and $200, like.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
And I'm thinking, okay, I mean, obviously it's really hard to like put your mind into like, okay, I'm a person who's motivated to take people, right? Even if I go in, okay, let's say the $200 doesn't make any, I can't make it even. It's laughable.
Why $200?
And I mean, okay, they took her purse. So maybe this person was like, I'm going to make it look like she went away, like she left. So they just grabbed her stuff hastily. But they left her book on the counter?
So I'm kind of saying something about the $200. So I feel like I've done enough events where like you are given the cash, right? And it's usually a straight amount, 100, 200, whatever. And then you start earning, right? So you might be left with 250 and some odd change or 275 and some odd change. It was directly 200. So you're telling me like, there's no way if she was held under duress, unless the person was like, I only want 200 and so many bills, that she would leave cash in the drawer.
Well, and this is the thing that bothers me is
so does she not have any sales? That doesn't make any sense.
Nobody's saying whether it was like 200 and then the drawer was dead or it was like took 200 from the drawer. So,
but that's weird. Like, why
think about the
200?
technology back then. They would have had to just say, well, the day started with 2, but we don't really know what happened because it was probably an old register. It probably didn't calculate the sales that way. There was probably no receipt thing happening.
But like they would know what the drawer started out with.
Well, I'm assuming it started out with
shift.
200. And that's why they can only say. So some of the sources were saying 200 was taken. Some said 187. Some said 180. Which
But I'm saying like if it was 200 and they know the day started with 200, then that means nothing was missing from the drawer.
That's what's confusing. I don't know. It seems so. I know that Reddit is not a good source to go on, but I love reading Reddit to hear what other people are saying.
But you know what I mean? Like,
it doesn't make sense, but I'm assuming that
unless it was credit card, because credit cards were around that time, right?
I think it was because they could only say whatever the day started with because they couldn't account for it. The register in the pictures looks so fucking old.
So you're saying that they lost 200, but they weren't sure of the sales before that.
Right. I think that they're just saying,
now
well,
I'm understanding.
It was 200 in the drawer, so at least 200 we can tell you. Could have been 4, could have been...
That makes sense. Okay, I understand what you're saying
They
now.
talk a lot about how it was a slow day, but they also talk a lot about how there was like...
But how could they know it was a slow day? Because they didn't have the cash.
I guess at some point, someone at her house had called her to be like, hey, how's work? How's it going? Whatever. And then she was like, oh, it's slow. Hang on, I've got a customer. I've got to go. Some of the sources say that she told her mom, like, hey, can't talk right now. I've got a customer.
And that was the customer?
And then nobody heard. So they don't know if it was that customer or, you know what I mean? There's a lot of like blanks on it. There's so many blanks.
Shit.
I'm looking at the Reddit thread now, which I know is not.
Damn.
So interesting. Somebody's bringing up Ted Bundy in these comments. I'm going to read them.
Oh, love me some Ted Bundy.
This person who they posted like basically a whole article and they essentially ripped off the internet. So I'm not going to read that. But then someone comments and said, the account of the attempted abduction of that college student just 45 minutes earlier and a few miles away is just chilling to me. Clearly someone wanted to cause harm that night and it wasn't going to stop until they did so. The timing makes me believe the customer Lynn had to go help was in fact her would-be abductor, which I think if that story is true, which is hard because the FBI is only going to give out so much information with it being open. So another person replies to that comment. Actually, this year they replied to that comment. And they said, weird. Reminds me of hearing that the night Ted Bundy failed to kidnap Carol Durant, he abducted and murdered Debbie Kent just hours later. This is probably somewhat common among those predators.
Debbie Kent?
So,
another thing, these victims live rent-free in my head too. Holy shit.
I think, and then somebody else had commented, and this is in no way disrespectful to anyone who was involved in it. Obviously, technology advances, and this is just the comment of one person. But it says, I think the cops dropped the ball in not putting the abductor's description out to the public. Even if someone somehow wasn't the same person who took Lynn, the person is still a danger to the public, no? Now, maybe you just didn't have a description because the person wore a ski mask or something. Still, it just seems a little bit of a missed opportunity. And then someone else replied and said, it also was 1982. There could have been a delay. The college woman is almost grabbed and takes 5 minutes to get to a phone to call for help. It takes another 5 to 10 minutes for police to arrive and confirm that it's legit, get a description. There's 15 minutes gone. Then they would need to decide if it's a targeted thing or a general public risk thing. The college student is terrified or needs medical treatment. That's more time. Perhaps they need to call on another person to help investigate, someone to come get her. 5 minutes for all that. Now we're up to 20 minutes. And it's 1982 and it's not easy to notify the public quickly like it is now.
But Ted Bundy liked colleges.
Yeah.
He loved colleges, and it's known that he was in those areas because he was trying to find out who his father was and why his mother never talked about his father and why she was at that place to give birth to him. I mean,
it's just very,
I mean,
so this is a person who actually lives in the area. I mean, they have really weird name that I'm not going to read out loud in case they listen. But it said this,
Hi, listener.
this case of a female working alone at a convenience store always stuck with me. I remember when it happened not too far from where I was living. I live in Florida, and it was a huge deal because the young lady was in... Okay, so this is not the same article. This person is delusional.
Okay.
Because it was saying the person is an heiress. I was like, I looked at her home. She was not an heiress to anything.
Oh, I thought you meant Aries to like you astrology.
No, like heiress, like...
Oh, He.
Mhm.
Okay, got it. Well, we all think we're a queen of our own home.
So, and somebody did, I actually didn't read the article that they posted at the top, but somebody had put in, where is it? It's the thing that got me attached to this case. I could find no description of the possible abductor at the time and no further information in regards to if anyone was caught or questioned. Eventually, Lynn's case was cold. For years and years, Lynn's father kept the front porch light on for her. A lot of her siblings are still alive and still seeking answers, and they say they will always leave the light on for her.
Wow.
That line is what gets me every single time. It's why I can't let it go. Her family knew she wouldn't wander away. They know it.
It breaks my heart for these families where they're like, we can't move. We have to stay in the same place.
Yeah, because if she
leave the
comes
light
back,
on in case they come back.
And you're talking a very long time.
Courtney, I'm going to say this, and Rob, if we feel like we should take this out, fine. But I think we need to go to Florida, North Adams, and see if we can find any records and just kind of like, even if we find one new piece of information.
This case, I grew up hearing about it, and it never leaves my head. There's so many cases like Lynn's. There's so many families like Lynn's. I could think of a ton more, some that are open to the publicity, some that are not.
Yeah.
But it's just... After a case goes cold, I feel like people get sick of hearing about it.
Yep.
And I think that's hard for people to hear. And obviously, we're not people like that. I've just read through, it's been like easily an hour. I've read through 9 articles I've already read because I'm like, there's something in here. There's something in here.
And I think it'd be worth doing. So even if we go up there with the intentions of hopefully having a podcast so like people can hear more about Lynn and her family and what may have happened, if people are like, no, I want off the record, at least we could find some type of information to bring to the police. I think it'd be worth it.
Yeah.
Just try to go interview people. So the police do a lot of work. And I understand you hear so many cases in your ears and you don't always hear all information. I think it's the same for us, right? We hear these families and we hear a lot of information and some stuff gets shuffled out, right?
And I think sometimes...
I think it would help for us to listen.
Those people who were tasked with interviewing, at least initially before it went cold, were people who knew that family. So whatever prejudice they had, whatever bias they had in their head, whatever interactions they had, if somebody in town, if little Susie is saying, well, so-and-so is a liar, now you're interviewing them and you're thinking, well, Susie said she's a liar. So people who are that neutral third party who know nothing about it, who are a little bit more flexible in their thinking, she just doesn't strike me as the kind of person who could have run away and then seen all of this happen because of her and not have said something. I don't see it. I don't see it at all. I don't see it even for 1 minute that she left.
I think it'd be worth...
My only other thought is that perhaps it was somebody who she knew very well and they came and were like, oh my God, we have to go. Blah, 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 blah happens. And she was like, oh my God, let me get my purse and my coat. And because think about it.
And the next paycheck someone owes me?
By
taking the $200?
Well, I'm wondering if the person didn't go back for the money because hear me out. She had a bleeding heart. She helped children. She helped her mom. If somebody had come into that store and said, oh my God, we've got to go. It's your mom. I think she would have gone.
But would she be like, okay, let me just at least gather enough money for my next paycheck? And that's why the $200 is gone.
I don't know. I'm thinking that they just used it as an excuse to get her in the car. Like, hey, I'm so-and-so. There's been an emergency. Maybe they grabbed the cash.
So it definitely couldn't be someone like Louis Slant or Ted Bundy because...
They weren't cash motivated. Yeah. There was no need for it. Unless it was to throw someone off the scent. So then I'm thinking back about that guy who was at the prison camp up there who had killed the woman at the hotel. Prison camp, money, low amount, similar area, right? I could see the link there. I could see the link there.
I think it's worth coming up with, 10 to 15 questions that if we can find people that knew Lynn or knew of the family and just be like, are you willing to listen to the questions we have to have and willing to talk to us about it? I think it'd be interesting.
Yeah. And I don't know. I know her mother was unwell, so I'm not sure if she's still there. The Burdick family is very large in that area. That area has a lot of Burdick family. It's a very popular last name for that particular small area. So
We might have to do more digging.
I'm going to have to, because it's literally like a sickness. It lives in my head. I can't. I would say I go down the rabbit hole of trying to come up with new information and articles probably 3-4 times a year. And every time, what I will say is she doesn't get a ton of coverage, but she gets enough that there are people who are podcasting about it, which I love.
Yeah.
There are people who are talking about it. There are people who are saying lots of things. Now, here I just pulled up her obituary. No, that's someone else with the exact same name.
Oh, creepy.
It must be her mom.
Because did they ever make an obituary for her?
I don't think so. No, it's not the same. Same name, but not the same person in the same area.
Weird.
Mm-hmm. There's also a YouTube video that somebody had made, a true crime. It just doesn't sit right. It doesn't sit right at all. And wow, there are a lot of people podcasting about it.
But that's great to know, though.
Ooh, what is this? Whereabouts Unknown. It's a book with 20 mysterious missing person cases. And Lynn is one of them. It's on Kindle Unlimited.
Really?
Read for free. And then I'll buy it.
Reading for free.
I promise I will buy it. I just...
What's it called?
I'm going to have to look it up again because it completely vanished. Oh, Whereabouts Unknown. That's what it was. Apparently she does missing person cases from across America, and it's a 9-book series.
Oh.
Which I'm excited about because... Not excited, guys. Sorry. Just...
wait, and it was Jen?
Yeah, I think so.
Jen Baxter. Here it is. 20 mysterious missing person. Oh my gosh, is Maura Murray on here?
She should be. Depending on when it was written. Probably going to end up on some kind of list from my Google history right now.
Maura Murray is not here. Wow. Okay, but it's on.
There's a place called Doe Network that also has some good information on it.
This looks good, though.
Oh, what happens when he leaves us alone?
Whoa. She has other books. She has 9 books?
Yeah.
Well, Wanderers, we will we will be going down another rabbit hole of Kindle Unlimited.
Somebody else commented on a post in Reddit again, asking the other person if they had read up on the recent Joe Ringer case, that they're from Mass too and used to live in the area.
Oh.
Woman disappeared from East Hampton. There was a huge search for her. Her husband was active and spoke about her. Cut to 2 weeks later, the cops start questioning him and he commits suicide. It went unsolved up until a few months ago. They found her body deep in the woods by Mount Sugarloaf in Hatfield. I think they're going to trial this week. The husband's ex-girlfriend is being held on murder charges.
Oh, shit.
There's so much here, Wanderers. I feel like women disappearing from the workplace is just, it's too often. In this letter that her dad got, where they don't name the suspect, doesn't make sense. And someone else on Reddit, talks about local lore. He moved to the area of the Berkshires in 1999, and he remembers hearing a story of hearsay, which has never been in print, that authorities were able to follow footprints in the snow and slush from the store to a neighbor's home. The man who tracks they were lived with his mother and was never charged, but there's never been any print of that. So I'm thinking that that's probably all speculation, although not totally unhelpful. I really wish they had just named anything. And of course the sketch is always the most simple looking man. It's always the same kind of guy you would
Joe
always
Schmo you see on the street.
Yeah, he just looks like a Joe, doesn't he? I need the name of the girl.
So I love that you're going down another rabbit hole since this, but do you want to pause this and then come back?
Oh my God. This is not related, but I was trying to find something from relevance, and I got this Florida man accused of 1978 West Springfield cold case to be arraigned, posted 2 days ago.
Was this the guy with the man and woman slaughtered?
Timothy Jolie, 71, of Clearwater, Florida, has been connected to the double murder of 18-year-old Teresa Marcoux and 20-year-old Mark Harnish.
Was it? Yes, their pickup truck. Was that the one?
Green Dodge pickup truck with a damaged window parked on a roadway. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't even. Oh my God, is there a connection?
Yeah. So, I mean, no, not to Lynn.
Oh, okay.
But it was because I typed in Florida and Mass. I got Florida man and mass murder instead of
Yeah, that came
Florida
out on the news
mass.
very recently. It was all
2
because of
days ago.
fingerprints.
Yeah, there was a bloody fingerprint, and what was it, 5 decades later?
Yeah.
1978.
Can you imagine? You feel like you're just going to live out the rest of your life in peace, and then boom.
You know what's interesting, though? I'm going to pause this so I can say this.
Thanks for listening today. Wicked Wanderings is hosted by me, Hannah.
And co-hosted by me, Courtney.
And it's produced by Rob Fitzpatrick.
Music by Sasha M.
If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to leave a rating and review, and be sure to follow on all socials. You can find the links down in the show notes. If you're looking for some really cozy t-shirts or hoodies, head over to the merch store. Thank you for being a part of the Wicked Wanderings community. We appreciate every one of you. Stay curious, keep exploring,
and always remember to keep on wandering.
Hi, Wanderers. If you haven't checked out our TikTok page yet, please do, and make sure you hit the follow button. When we get 1,000 followers, we'll be able to view exclusive content and go live on TikTok.